Our first show of the week for lcpioneers.com live, presented by PioStream, as we're with you 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time on Facebook Live, and available to watch on demand all of our past shows on our YouTube page in a playlist at youtube.com/lcpios, keeping you connected with Lewis and Clark student athletes, coaches, alumni, and members from throughout the Lewis and Clark College community. Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Goff. I am the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark, the Pioneers out of Portland, Oregon. We have a wooded campus just 6 miles southwest of downtown Portland, and an opportunity for our 19 intercollegiate athletic programs to compete in the Northwest Conference with other institutions from throughout Oregon and the state of Washington, and over 430 institutions competing at the NCAA Division III level, so a chance for our student athletes to compete on a national stage, of course, when there is not a pandemic in our midst. Currently, Northwest Conference has suspended competition through at least January 1st, 2021, and we will continue to keep you updated with the latest developments as it pertains to athletics at lcpioneers.com/COVID. But with that said, we have conversations this week with different members from our community, and today we'll bring in women's soccer senior Caitlin Gallagher to join us and talk to her about what fall practice in 2020 looked like this year. Just wrapped up with Coach Tercey and the team, and so get a feel for what was different, what still felt the same, and then certainly what's ahead as most Lewis and Clark students will be leaving campus over the Thanksgiving holiday, and then we'll stay remote for the rest of the fall 2020 term to minimize exposure with the coronavirus pandemic. All of that information available at lclark.edu. So Caitlin in just a few moments, but we do invite you to get in touch with the show. You can do so in our Facebook Live comments. Always enjoy hearing from our listeners and those who are watching with us on Facebook Live. And of course, if you catch the show on demand from our YouTube page or weren't here at the beginning and you have a suggestion for a future guest, you can always do that via email, sports@lclark.edu. We're also accessible on Twitter and Instagram. LC Pioneers, our handle on both of those platforms. A couple of things that we will mention tonight is the United States election, including the presidential race. So the Associated Students of Lewis and Clark, the ASLC, holding an election night viewing space from 7 to 9 o'clock tonight. It's intended to be a space for students who cannot attend the in-person event to find community on election night. There's going to be ASLC members that are monitoring everything that's going on, ensure the safety and well-being of participants. Also, Rhetoric and Media Studies professor Joe Gant will be there too to chat and answer any specific questions. That registration is open. Go to lclark.edu and search election night, and you'll find the Associated Students of Lewis and Clark election night viewing and chat room available to students coming up tonight with the election coverage. Also, our featured student athletes of the week, or more specifically, our Pioneers of the Week, continue to be updated at lcpioneers.com. So you can go to our homepage and click on the Fan Zone. Pioneers of the Week, Izzy Arteaga of volleyball and Ben Welker of men's golf, our latest to be profiled. And then, as I mentioned too, our YouTube page continues to be updated. Last week, we closed out our week of shows with the head coach of men's and women's rowing, Sam Taylor. All of those shows dating back to the end of March are available on demand at youtube.com/lcpios. So with that said, let's bring in our guest for today, a soccer senior for Lewis and Clark. We're proud to welcome in Caitlin Gallagher to the program. Caitlin, appreciate you taking the time to join us and kick off our week to talk about women's soccer. And I mentioned, the practices just got wrapped up. We have Thanksgiving coming up later this month when you'll return home. So there's a lot of moving parts in the month of November. Let's reflect really quick, though. How have things gone for you so far through the fall 2020 semester?
Things have been pretty good. Well, as good as they can be right now. It was really nice being able to have practice and as much of a sense of team as we could get with COVID. Practices were really fun because we were just able to see everyone, even though we did have to be socially distant. It was nice to just have that camaraderie and have everyone support all of us because we all know what we were going through. Running in a mask was not the best, not that fun. But for practicing, it was really nice because since we were not allowed to do any contact, we were able to kind of fine-tune other skills needed to play soccer. So we were able to do a lot of ball work and footwork and really perfect our moves that we do in a game, and our passing, making sure the accuracy is there and the speed of play is there, as well as this doing different drills since we're not allowed to tackle and win the ball from one another. Moving off the ball was really key and working hard to try to intercept those passes and all that stuff. So our intensity level definitely got brought up this year, and just our work ethic, I think, got a lot stronger because we had to really focus on other things we could do than kind of one-on-one drills and winning the ball that way. So it was nice to be able to focus on speed, agility, ball work, footwork, all that stuff to really enhance our playing as a whole for when we can play contact.
And trying to de-densify the campus, I haven't been on campus much during the fall term, and so I haven't been able to attend any practices. And so when I've tried to visualize what I think they would look like, it's actually been easier for me to think about, well, what might look different, right? You talked about running with
Yeah.
masks and all the changes with no contact. I'm kind of curious, how in some ways did they feel the same, just to have your team kind of in the same spot? In some ways, how were they the same?
Well, it was the same in the sense that we were all really eager to play. We were all excited to come. Um, we got to do shooting a lot, which is what we typically work on as well. So that was all the same, and being able to practice our shots more, and just all the different running drills we did were pretty much the same, if not more intense. And it wasn't too different in the fact that, we're all teammates helping the freshmen kind of come into the school and make their transition as smooth as possible. Just like the team atmosphere and environment and the support of one another, like that never changed, even with COVID. Like we still did team bonding, mask on, socially distant. We would do a lot of FaceTime calls just so we could see everyone's faces and get to know them without the mask on in a safe way. And we just did a lot of get to know you games, and team bonding, we believe, is really important to be cohesive on and off the field. And so all of the importance and significance of team bonding and helping the freshmen get to know us and having us get to know them and get to know the campus as best as they can, that never changed.
Caitlin Gallagher, our guest on lcpioneers.com live, senior for women's soccer. And the one aspect you talk about, getting to know the first year students coming in and helping adapt to what would maybe be easier when you're used to getting into practice and playing a game that you're familiar with, instead now adjusting to these changes with coronavirus. And so I am curious, as a senior, what was unique about some of the aspects of senior leadership this year that maybe you didn't expect coming in, but kind of developed over the course of the fall?
Yeah, what was really interesting was um, what we did prior to coming to campus. Typically, we don't really all meet up or do like a huge FaceTime or a Zoom call over summer. We might do one like a week before we come. But what was different this year was at least once a month, the entire team and the coaches would get together on a Zoom call and just talk about what we know for the season and get to know the freshmen before coming to campus, which was really nice because normally we'd come to campus and just kind of all be thrown into it at once. We'd move in one day and then the next day we'd start practice and have to try to get to know everyone in a really short time period while we're doing drills and like playing the game. So it was really nice having um, kind of get to know you games and like things like that prior to coming to campus, and really understanding how everyone was feeling about COVID and just talking about it. And even just with the team without coaches, like just us girls, like getting to know one another and trying to help as best as we could. And with the leadership, it was just, I mean, it was a lot of like reminding, like, oh, make sure you bring your own ball to practice because now we each have our individual soccer balls. We don't have one big ball bag. We have our own that we have to take care of. And so just like little different like nitpicky things like, oh, make sure you do the laundry, make sure you grab your balls, make sure you stay determined in coming to practice and playing as hard as you can, even though the circumstances that we're in, as well as don't be afraid that if you're pushing yourself so hard with the mask, like take a second, step away from practice, step out of the area, and just go somewhere by yourself to make sure you're breathing properly and you're getting enough oxygen to your body. So just reminding everyone to take care of their bodies, like more so over everything. Make sure we're hydrated, make sure we're eating right, because we want to be the best shape and condition we're in possible when we're kind of limited breathing with the masks.
Now, you're from originally Agora Hills, California. Describe how you found Lewis and Clark as the place that you wanted to attend and compete when it came to intercollegiate athletics. Why did you choose Lewis and Clark?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I This school really wasn't on my radar at all until one of my old teachers from fourth grade that we were still in touch with. Her daughter was, I think, like 3 or 4 years older than me, and she had actually come to Lewis and Clark to play soccer. Her name was Hannah Ball. I don't know if that name is familiar at all, but her mom told us to look into this school. That Hannah loved it. It was a great small liberal arts school, great soccer program, great coaches, and that it was just the perfect fit for Hannah, and that I should look at it. And so I did. I didn't think much of it. I wasn't really looking um, for schools on the Pacific Northwest. But then once I saw this school and I visited it and I toured it, it was just breathtaking. Like the campus, the atmosphere, everything. It was exactly what I was looking for. And on top of everything, it had a soccer program that really interested me. And so just everything sort of lined up perfectly for what I was looking for. And I couldn't have asked for a better school to go to.
You're watching lcpioneers.com live, presented by PioStream. We're on Tuesday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, and talking to Pioneers women's soccer senior Caitlin Gallagher today on the show. You can see all of our past shows on our YouTube page, youtube.com/lcpios. So you declare as a psychology major. What was it about that area of study that attracted you to that major?
Yeah, through psychology, I feel like I can really get to know myself more and understand who I am, as well as understanding other people. And I've always wanted to have a career where I helped people. I felt like I was making a difference in someone's life. And I thought the best way to help someone is to understand them or understand how their experiences that they have been through have shaped who they are, and just the best way to get to know people in order to help them heal from whatever they need to, or just to help them in general. And through psychology, I felt that was just the best way to go. And for the career that I want to be in, understanding people and knowing how to work with people of all age, kids, adults, older people, I just thought psychology was the best way to go.
Now, I always like to ask this question to upperclassmen like yourself. When you finally got to like the crux of the psychology classes, was it as quickly as you could possibly go through them, or was it something that you kind of trickled in the schedule with the major classes throughout the course of your 4 years so far? What was your path in terms of the design of how you took your classes?
Well, for me, once I took intro to psychology, I was set. I was locked in on psychology as my major. I was so interested in all the psychology classes here. So I kind of took every psychology class I could as soon as possible, just because I was so interested in so many different classes they offer here. I've taken social psychology, abnormal psychology, I've taken, like methods. I'm in personality theory right now. I just wanted to take as much psychology classes as possible. So I kind of got my major pretty much completed really early on, and I just have to take my last 400 level capstone course. And I took so many psych classes that I kind of neglected my gen eds, and so I had to start working those in as much as I could. But that was really the process it was for me. I took one psych class and I was hooked, and I took all of them as soon as possible.
So then how does that benefit you now in terms of the experiential liberal arts education and getting a chance to see about classes that are outside the psychology major? If you've completed most of the major classes, I imagine that gives you some flexibility in what you can take now.
Yes, I really looked into SOAN classes. I was really interested in those. And I also wanted to take classes that pushed me out of my comfort zone. So I took acting one, which was a big challenge for me because I tend to get nervous in front of crowds sometimes, especially doing a skill that I've never done before. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Um, Doing a skill that I've never done before, that was really nerve wracking for me. But the process of acting one, I recommend it for anyone who's taking it. I have never done acting in my life. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but that class was so fun. You're able to just really be yourself and open yourself up to new experiences. And it was just a really wonderful process to be a part of. And it was definitely one of my favorite classes I've ever taken here. And I'm also looking forward to taking some art classes next semester to get like some hands-on work done. Like I'm gonna take sculpting next semester, so it'll be nice being able to really get to know myself outside of psych because that's what I was so focused on for the first 2 years. And it was really nice being able to focus on other classes like sociology and theater and art to really kind of have the full liberal arts experience.
Listen, I hear you on the acting class. Now, that's definitely in my blood. I like the performance stuff, but I only took one acting class in college, and it's still one of the highlights of my
Yeah.
time getting my degree. So I hear you when you say acting one was a lot of fun. Um,
Mhm.
let's talk about some of the summer activities. You had told me in a survey that we send out at the beginning of each year, between your sophomore and junior year, you had a chance to do some camp counseling, and that kind of has a spot in your heart. It's something that you've done for a good amount of time. What is it about the opportunity to be a camp counselor that you've really enjoyed?
I love being active and moving. So it I really wanted a job where I could be active for the whole time. And I also knew I really wanted to work with kids because that is kind of a career path I'm looking towards. And camp counseling just seemed to be the perfect fit. And this was a camp I had attended myself as a child, and I loved it. And the bond you make with your camp counselor is forever. And I just wanted to experience that on the other end. And it was 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. And I was on my feet constantly, had a whole group of like 9 to 12 girls every day. And we just bounced from one activity to the next and really making connections with kids and being able to see how kids think because it's so different from how adults think now. I feel like they're so blunt and they say the craziest things that I would never have thought of. And it's nice because you forget how to think like that. Like you just grow up and you just kind of forget what the mentality of a child is. And it's really nice to have that like fresh kind of eager child that's willing to try everything and wants you to be their best friend and wants to do everything with you. And it was nice because then I got to make so many good connections. I got to babysit outside of my job, and I really made connections with kids that were really beneficial to some of them who may not have had like the best home life or used camp to escape or didn't have many friends, and so their camp counselor was their friend. And I really liked the idea of being able to be there for kids and giving them the same experience I had as a child.
I think that's awesome as a parent of two. I think it's great the impact that you're having on kids, and wish you the best of luck if that's in your future professionally. Let's turn the page with the month of November upon us now. Students will, by and large, be gone after Thanksgiving break just to limit the coronavirus spread. So remote classes for the rest of the fall semester. How do you plan as a team to kind of stay connected in a time that you would still otherwise be on campus together?
Yeah, I mean, what's nice is that we normally all have like a set of workouts that we will do, and kind of being able to know that we're all doing the same thing separately, I guess, in our own area and then coming together is really nice. Just kind of that camaraderie, like, oh, like I'm going to be working here on my own to benefit not only myself, but my team. And like we did in the summer, we're going to be doing Zoom calls. I think we're going to try to do some sort of secret Santa that we're going to try to figure out over the break, just to kind of stay connected and really meet, at least try to meet maybe like once a week online, just to like see how especially the freshmen are doing with doing class at home, especially college classes. Because I know last semester, when we did get sent home for COVID, it was really weird doing classes at home. And the freshmen will be more used to it because they just came from high school. But being a third year, it was really hard to transfer from doing homework at home when I haven't done that in 3 years. Like I didn't have a desk, I didn't have anything. But um, it'll be nice to be able to stay connected. And a lot of us are from the same places, so we will be able to get together and do workouts, mask on together or socially distant, like as much as we can. And so it'll be nice to be able to stay connected with the people that are from the same areas as us, but also being able to communicate through Zoom and do a secret Santa and just like try to find different activities to do to stay connected.
Now, we've had him on the show before, but Jim Tercey's been the longtime head coach of the women's soccer program at Lewis and Clark over 10 years. What's the best Jim Tercey story from Caitlin Gallagher?
um, I don't know if this is the all-time best, but this is definitely the most recent story, I guess, that's happened. But it's just funny because with COVID, there's new regulations set on practice. So normally we would do drills, have a bunch of cones laid out all over the field, like balls everywhere, pennies everywhere, and we have to go collect everything. But due to COVID, they don't want the team touching all the cones and moving them and stuff like that. So we kind of adapted, instead of touching them with our hands, if we needed to move a cone, we'd just start like kicking them or like dragging them with our feet, which was just like not efficient at all. It took so much extra time. But because we started doing that, Jim started doing that, like using his feet to pick up the cones and kick them. And we were all like, Jim, you can still use your hands. It's just for us. Like we're not allowed to touch them. You guys are the ones who have to pick them up. And they're like, it was just funny. He just laughed it off and like yelled and was like, "Oh, you're just kidding. Like you're just messing with me or whatever." And so now at the end of practice, we're all just standing there kicking cones. So that's just really funny to me.
I think that's hilarious. I appreciate you sharing that because, again, we don't get to see the coaches as much right now from my side of things. So it's good to hear
Yeah.
that Jim is being Jim, and it's good stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin Gallagher, thank you so much for taking time. I had to book you pretty last second because I took vacation a couple weeks ago. You said absolutely it can come on. I certainly appreciate that and reiterate appreciation for you too with working with children. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us on lcpioneers.com live.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
That's Caitlin Gallagher joining us. That was fun conversation for sure. I love Jim Tercey stories. I've kind of said the most interesting man in the world, take off of commercials that you've likely seen, and that's what Coach Tercey reminds me of, and that doesn't surprise me. The Cone story that she just shared, but yeah, she talked about the camp counseling that she's done for so long. You heard that part, but she wasn't able to do it over the course of this last summer because of the pandemic. And it was definitely something that was tough for her not to get to do. That's something that you can hear, just that inherent passion and genuine feelings for the kids that she gets to work with over the summer. And I'm sure that had to be tough not to get that opportunity this summer. So admire her work and what she provides children in her area. So tomorrow we will have no live show. Instead, we will have a replay of a past lcpioneers.com live. Be sure to join us for that coming up at 11:30 on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we have Melissa Osmond set to join us. Now, Melissa is the Associate Director of Health Promotion for Lewis and Clark College. And one of the aspects of the show that I really like is a chance to expand our conversations beyond just athletics. And so we'll talk to Melissa about how wellness is promoted throughout the entire Lewis and Clark College campus, and certainly when it comes to opportunities for counseling service or just mind and body type things, what Melissa's office and what her role as the Associate Director for Health Promotion provides the student body at large at Lewis and Clark. opportunities for them. And they have a good Instagram account too that's been sharing a lot of neat things in regards to wellness right now, especially with the election week that can cause stress. And so that's something that I invite you to check out on Instagram. Search wellness_LC for more information about that. And then as I cut back to that slide, I'm excited to have at least 2 of the co-chairs for the upcoming Ray Warren Symposium. It's the 17th annual symposium on November 11th through 13th. So I'll have a chance to talk to at least 2 of the student co-chairs about this year's symposium. And there's a focus on movement, specifically the political, bodily, and emotional dimensions of movement. And it invites those who are attending the symposium to consider how Black, Indigenous, and people of color navigate the world. So we will continue to share links to the Ray Warren Symposium over the course of our last 2 live shows on Thursday and on Friday. So be sure to join us. We had a chance last month to talk to one of the professors involved with the Environmental Studies Symposium, which I believe was the 23rd annual. And so with the 17th annual Ray Warren Symposium, a good opportunity to get a glimpse into how the symposia impact the student body and everyone at Lewis and Clark, with the faculty and staff involved too. They're really neat events, and a chance to specifically hear from at least 2 of the students who are setting that event up. So be sure to join us coming up on Friday for that. So until we talk to you again on Thursday live, but keep in mind we'll have a replay of a show tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. I'm Ryan Goff. Thanks so much for joining us, as you have for over 35 weeks now, dating back to the last day of March. The pandemic continues. We'll continue to update you at lcpioneers.com/COVID with any information that pertains to athletics. And if you go to that website too, there are also links to the NCAA, Northwest Conference, and Lewis and Clark College's updates pertaining to COVID-19. We try to keep you informed the best we can on that website, so be sure to bookmark it, please. Until we see you again tomorrow for the re-air, and then Thursday again live with Melissa Osmond. Thanks again for having fun with us. Big thanks to Caitlin for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon for more lcpioneers.com live, presented by BioStream. Goodbye, everybody.
I think everyone should take Intro to Chemistry because the chemistry department here is phenomenal. Everyone I've known has had a good experience with everyone in that department, so I think it's a worthwhile course to take.
What is one class that everyone should take at Lewis and Clark? I really enjoyed Education in a Complex World. You kind of get to discuss all the issues that exist within education today, and you get to kind of explore that by going to classrooms firsthand and volunteering with children, which I thought was a really wonderful experience.
One class that everybody should take at Lewis and Clark is anything with Kundai Chirindo. I think he definitely changed how I thought about rhetoric and media studies and just education in general.
For me, it was International Affairs, just Intro to International Affairs, because I think it really gives a good perspective on important issues around the world.
We invite you to join us.
It's time to explore Lewis and Clark.